So the 30 FPS versus 60 FPS debate is back. This is something that has been going on since probably the Xbox One generation, probably a little bit longer, but no, Xbox One really was the one that introduced it because a lot of it was just 30 FPS capped, and then the Xbox One X came out and it was just 4K 30 FPS. Um, but it's back, and it's back for two reasons. Two reasons being two games, two recent games that were recently dropped or announced that they would only have 30 FPS modes, no 60 FPS performance. You're stuck at 30 FPS. And if you don't know what FPS is, it's just frames per second. It just determines how smooth the game looks on your television. Most TVs are 60 hertz. If that refresh rate isn't meeting that, 30 FPS is basically half. It makes motion look a little bit more choppy, but it can be smooth as well. I'm just saying that that is the difference. Anyways, Plague Tale Requiem recently was released. I'm not sure if it was released today or tomorrow. It might be released this week. Anywho, they have released the game and they did not tell anybody at all that they were only going to do a 30 FPS mode. They pretty much pretended as if, it doesn't matter. And I know at some points, single player games, it doesn't matter. This is more so just kind of coming from the perspective of a potential buyer, and we have pushed into a 60 FPS or to 120 FPS generation. And for them to come with a 30 FPS game at 1440p, it's just not up to standard, and that is the problem. The game can be awesome, the story can be great, the animations and the fluidity of it can be actually smooth. It's just the fact that the choice is no longer there, and that's what got people riled up. Gotham Knights, on the other hand, that is another 30 FPS game where they do not offer performance either. They provided a reason around theirs. Obviously, Plague Tale just did not say anything, but Gotham Knights at least added some clarity around why they chose to do this. And I can read it to you here. Let me put it up on the screen. I know many of you are wondering about the availability of a performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles due to the type of features we have in our game, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world. It is not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher FPS. For this reason, our game does not have a performance/quality mode an option and will run at 30 FPS on consoles. This here is one of the senior developers basically stating that I wish the gamers understood that 60 FPS means in terms of all things that they lose to make the game run that fast. They don't understand all the things they lose, especially taking into account that we have the current gen console. They have a current gen console. You ain't saying which one, but we all know what you're talking about. That's not much better than a last gen one. He's talking about the Series S, and he went on to even say that it's a potato, which is very interesting to me. The Series S is a great console. In my opinion, it's a gap filler. It is for the people that can't afford to go the full-fledged Xbox Series X, and they kind of want to continue to play those experiences that we all have become accustomed to. But it's an entry level. It is a stepping stone. It is the ability to continue on and move forward with gaming. I think that is a choice that we all should have. I don't think it should be, just tailored to one series. And I understand, having generations. I'm totally for generations. I'm just not for not having different entry points. I think it's important to do that, and I think it's smart to do that. PC has never been a gatekeeper when it comes to like who can play their games and what cost, and at what cost. Like they always provided options and ability to build your own system. So I understand the want to have different types of tiers for your gaming experience, and I get wanting to have that available. So to call it a potato, especially when it's running games like Cyberpunk at 60 FPS and is running other games at 120 FPS at times, it just screams. I'm not saying that they're lazy. I'm not saying that their game not optimized. I'm just saying that there is probably room for improvement, and they're just exhausted with the amount of effort they might have to put in to provide that experience for more people, which I get. At the same time, um, you're choosing to put your game out on that platform and you want everybody to be able to experience it. And luckily for Gotham Knights, they decided to remove all of the last gen games. So they should have had opportunity, well enough opportunity to get that game optimized on the Series S. Could it be a pigeonhole? Absolutely. I'm not saying that can't be the case. I can see it being a bottleneck, but I just at some point you have to realize that maybe there is other options than to belittle it and say that you can't make something else better because this here is causing. It's like I just don't get that. That's a weird explanation, but that is the explanation that was provided by that senior developer. But moving back to my point about who's right, I definitely am going to steer towards Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is right in the way they approached it. They told people before the game came out so they can make a proper assessment and choose whether or not they wanted to buy. Plague Tales didn't say nothing. And I get that they're totally different games. One is well, they're not totally different. Actually, they're claiming that Gotham Knights is a single player game, but they are making decisions based off co-op experiences. But they claim it's a single player game, and as well, Plague Tales is a single player game. So when you look at these games, Plague Tales chose to not provide a performance mode because they felt as if 30 FPS was good enough to tell their story and allow you the fluidity and the overhead to make the game as pretty as possible. Gotham Knights did the exact same thing. It's just the delivery which is different. I heavily agree with how Gotham Knights did it, even though it was a Discord, post. It was going to get out. People were going to know, and people had the right to either cancel or continue. Do I think people are blowing it out of proportion? Yes, at some points, but at the same time, we have become accustomed to 120 FPS, 60 FPS generation. We're no longer accustomed to playing 30 FPS games, so when we get pigeonholed into that, we tend to act out. Obviously, there's a lot of grown children out there, but when you're level headed and you can understand that, there's probably opportunity for you to correct this, and there's probably a way for you to make this game run better. Obviously, I'm not a developer. I never made a game in my life, but understanding that there are developers out there as big as WB that has made games that, in my opinion, have shown and looked better. I believe that you're capable of doing that as well for us. Especially when this is supposed to be a game geared towards single player. If at least that's what I was told. They showed it off as a co-op game. It looked at very much co-op. It looked at very much multiplayer. But I am still being shown and shoved or told that it's a single player experience. We're not here to talk about Gotham Knights though. We're just here to talk about 30 FPS versus 60. When you look at it from this point of view, it is very simple. 30 FPS and 60 FPS, there is a distinct advantage between the two. 60 FPS is more fluid and smoother. You can tell the difference, and that is something that would cause someone to feel as if that game is giving them a disadvantage. When it comes to single player experiences, I don't think that should be held in the same light. Obviously, when you're playing multiplayer and it comes to, lag time and online ping and all that stuff, you obviously want more frames. But outside of that, I think there is opportunities for these 30 FPS experiences, but they have to come coupled with a 60 FPS experience as well. It's just impossible for you to do that when, especially when everyone has become accustomed to it. That 60 FPS mode is important. You've seen what happened with Dying Light 2. Like, these are important. Understanding you have more time and more ability to learn a console, but there's plenty of tools and there's plenty of experiences and examples that have shown the right way to do this. So I think you just have to get with the times. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think one is, obviously, let me know what you think. Who handled it the best? Who responded the best? Obviously, Plague Tales Plague Tales didn't even respond yet. I hope they respond with some explanation. But where do you stand? Do you feel like this is not a big deal? Do you feel like this is a big deal and it could be something that's going to be continued moving forward, or is it just more so, you know, fodder and that's going to die down in no time? What you think? Let me know in the comment section below. But I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.